Hello, welcome to my podcast, Yorkshire Property Partners. In this show, we will be discussing the latest news and trends in the property market in the Yorkshire area. My name is Fiona Conway. I'm director of Fiona Conway&Associates Mortgage Brokers based in Harrogate, and I am your host. Today, I have the pleasure in introducing you to Tom Bird. Tom is the director of Renton Parr Estate Agents based in Wetherby. Hi, Tom.
Hello, Fiona.
Hi, are you okay today?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Good, yes, very well, thanks. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. Firstly, do you just want to tell us a bit about Renton Parr?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I'm the director of the company. We are a proudly independent firm of chartered surveyors, estate agents and valuers based in the lovely market town of Wetherby, where we've been for just over 70 years now. We celebrated our platinum anniversary last year, and we cover all the kind of surrounding villages within the infamous Golden Triangle, up to Harrogate, out to York and down to Leeds. And we sell all types of houses, from first time buyer properties to large country dwellings with nice big garden grounds, to new build sites, down to kind of retirement flats for people downsizing. So we're fortunate in the sense that we cover all of market. We're family run. My father Ken now owns and manages the company, and me and my brother Alex work alongside him. And then we've got an experienced team of 9 members of staff in total, all local. So we know the areas inside out, really.
I have to say that the experience that I've had with Renton Parr has been fantastic. Everyone's very friendly, professional, welcoming. I've always found on the phone and in the office, everybody's been lovely, and I think that's what sellers and buyers are looking for. They're looking to deal with a company just like you, and a nice family-run company as well. I think, my experience has always been very good, and I would always recommend you to any of my clients.
Thank you very much. Lovely to hear.
No problem. It's how I feel. So you mentioned lovely market town of Wetherby. Wetherby is beautiful. It's definitely one of my favourite places in Yorkshire. There's lots of lovely surrounding areas as well. And I know, you cover all those areas. Would you say that there's a particular sort of property hotspot right now in the Wetherby area?
Well, I suppose looking at the kind of market generally over the last 18 months or so, everywhere's seemingly been very popular, where we cover. The pandemic has really made people focus on where they want to be, and I think areas like Wetherby and surrounding villages, have been high on the radar because of the kind of rural country aspects that they offer. But if we were to focus in on, one village in particular, I'd probably say Boston Spa. It's a lovely Georgian spa town just 3 miles away from Wetherby, so it's still close to the town, but it's got such a kind of array of amenities of its own. Bars, restaurants. There seems to be a new cafe popping up every other month. It's got a really vibrant high street. But in addition to that, it's got a really good spread of property. So it's from, again, going back to kind of the houses we sell, from kind of your first time buyers all the way up your big family homes, and then to your downsizing property. Boston Spa kind of covers all that spread. Great for primary schools. You've got some outstanding primary schools there, as well as a new secondary school academy, which is very popular. So combine all these things and then position it just next to the motorway, and location-wise, it's fantastic. If you're commuting north, south, wherever you need to be, it's it's really well placed.
Yeah, it is. No, I completely agree with that. So if I live in the Wetherby area and I'm looking to sell my home and move on, how do you think? Could you give any advice on what I should do to make my property stand out? People are looking for different things now, I think, in their homes due to COVID and people working from home more. What should I do to make my property sellable?
Well, I think first of all, give us a call. We'd be delighted to come out and have a face-to-face market appraisal, where we would look at the property, go through comparable sales, and give you an idea of what it's worth. So starting with the value, and during that meeting, we would also advise on best ways to present your home. Really maximise it to get that best value for you, and that may be simple things from decluttering, just reducing some of the unwanted paraphernalia that we all seem to accumulate over the years, just to show how big the rooms really are. Paint, touching up, skirting boards, architrave, walls that maybe have got a bit grubby in the hallways, just freshen everything up. Garden, I know this time of the year, no one's garden's looking particularly well, but you'd be surprised the amount of houses I've been to in the last couple of weeks where there are Christmas trees that are just slung into the back garden.
Oh, gosh.
And we're there trying to organise photographs, and you're thinking, well, can we just move the Christmas tree? It doesn't help. So little trivial things like that, but we'd advise you, and that's a key part of our business. It's a kind of personal service that you'd get, and the one-on-one advice that we would give to make the house look at its most saleable.
Absolutely. So if I'm selling my property, do I need to spend lots of money on it? If I'm feeling the kitchen or the bathroom's a bit dated and it could really do with being refreshed, should I replace that, or should I leave that for the buyer to sort out?
A good question, and one that we get asked a lot from sellers. And there's no real straight answer, but what I would tend to say, every house is different. And if you've got a property where the house almost revolves around the kitchen, that's the main hub of the house, and if that's the one room that's kind of letting the property down, it may be worth spending a few quid to put a more of a statement kitchen piece in there, because that will hold more value in the eyes of a buyer. However, your tastes and the buyer's tastes are typically going to be very different, and you may spend tens of thousands of pounds on something that you think looks fantastic, but if the buyer doesn't like it, you've potentially wasted that investment. So unless it's something really off-putting or doesn't function, I would typically say leave kitchens and bathrooms well alone, because most buyers that we kind of come across tend to want to put their own stamp on the property straight away, and kitchens and bathrooms tend to be those spaces that they can really personalize to their own tastes. So 9 times out of 10, I would say leave it as it is.
Yeah, because you could spend £10,000 on this brand new kitchen and think it's gorgeous, but the next person that buys it could think, oh, I'll get rid of that kitchen. I don't particularly like it, because everybody is different. And I think it's important what you said about just dressing the house properly. We bought a new house in June, and it was a new home, so there was nothing in it. And we struggled to really see where we could put things. But our neighbours kindly said to us, well, they weren't neighbours at the time, but they saw us viewing and they said, why don't you just bob into our house and just have a look to see what we've done to it? It'll help you have an idea of what you could do. And we went and had a look at theirs, and it was immaculate, absolutely beautiful. And we put an offer in on the house that day. So it really is like how you present it, isn't it? It gives potential buyers an idea of what they would want to do as well when they move in, and furniture they might like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And it's sometimes quite quick fixes. You don't need to spend a fortune to just create the space and make it look a little bit more appealing.
Yes, yeah, and clutter as well, like you said. We've lived here 7 months. There's already clutter. If you've been living somewhere for 20 years, there's a lot of stuff to get rid of, isn't there, I suppose?
Yeah. Garages are often full, lofts are often full. On garages, that's one space that I would always strongly advise people to clear out before taking the house to market. Not because people tend to park in garages anymore, but it's just such a useful storage room now. especially for families where you've got children's toys and bikes and everything else. So yeah, garage is a key space to have cleared out.
Absolutely. Are you seeing that people are maybe using a garage as an office space or something like that now that people are working from home more?
Yeah, all kinds of rooms. I mean, I'm currently sat on my dining table, but we've seen people, use bedrooms, kitchen tables, dining tables, garages. People have converted lofts just as temporary kind of office spaces. Home offices in the garden, we've seen a lot more, an increase in those kind of garden pods, where people can work from home but be detached from the house at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, you kind of feel like you're getting up and getting dressed to go somewhere, I think, which a lot of people did do in lockdown.
Walk over the garden.
Yeah, absolutely. So then on the flip side of that, if I'm a buyer and I'm looking to buy a property in the Wetherby area, how do I prepare myself to buy then? What should I be doing when I'm preparing to view, when I'm viewing? So what are your tips?
Yeah, so as a buyer, I mean, firstly, buyers need to kind of understand the market, and the market at the moment is, I would very much describe it as a seller's market. There's limited supply and there's a lot of demand. There's lots of buyers out there. So you've got to really, I always say two things. First of all, establish, what it is you're looking for. So compile, a wish list. What location do you want to be buying in? What house type do you want? Period? Do you want new build? Does it need to be in walking distance of certain schools? What is it that you and your family are after? Create a wish list. Be prepared to compromise, because unless you're having a house built for yourself, you're not going to tick every box. There's got to be an element of compromising. So be focused but flexible on what it is you're after. And then secondly, and arguably just as important, what's your budget? How are you going to afford this house, or what can you afford? If you need to sell a house to buy, ring ourselves, speak to an agent, get a valuation so you know what your property's worth. But then speak to a mortgage broker, and find out exactly what your borrowing capabilities are. Because there's no point in going off, searching the market, falling in love with a house, and then realising, hang on, I'm only going to be disappointed here. I can't quite make the numbers work. So wish list and budget, two equally important things.
Fantastic advice. I couldn't agree with that more. We always recommend that buyers are coming to speak to us right at the beginning of their process, so they can find out if they can afford a property, and if they can't, well, let's put a budget in place, and let's have a look and put a plan in place for the next 6 months, for the next year. Let's look at a budget planner. Let's see how you can save some more deposit. Let's get you into that position where you can buy that beautiful home. And I think, some people need that, because they are looking at properties that they can't quite afford, because they think, well, I can afford that. I know that I can pay that, but a lender might disagree. So, it's looking at things as early as possible to get buyers into the best possible position they can be in.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So then I've fallen in love with my dream home. It's fantastic. I need it right now. I'm going to put an offer in. What makes me attractive to the seller then, if I'm putting my offer in?
So if you're at the offer stage, I mean, once you view the property and, speak to your partner or the other decision maker, and I would probably say, think, well, what's it worth to you? What would you be prepared to pay to get it? Because regardless of what the asking price is, we are seeing a lot of properties going above asking price at the moment. So sit down, look at the finances and think, right, what's the maximum we can go to? And get everything in place before you call the agent, so that when you ring that agent, the selling agent, you can give them the offer, which will be a considered, thought out offer. You'll be able to share with them your mortgage in principle. You'll be able to tell them exactly what the loan to value is, what the deposit element might be. If you've sold a property, have to hand who the agent is and who in particular the sales negotiator is that agency, so that all this information can be logged, so that when the agent putting that offer forward to the vendor can say, right, they've sold through such and such an agent, I've got the point of contact there, so you can ring them, you can get the full chain details. We know what the loan to value is, we know what the mortgage and the deposit is, and they've got all the information to hand, and then that just puts you in such a more positive light when that offer's being presented to the client. And it's worth remembering that, an agent acting for the client is duty bound to check out, financially verify you and comply with, the anti-money laundering regulations that we have to do and the ID checks. So just be as kind of prepared and as upfront as possible at the moment of making that offer, so that can be passed on in the best possible way to the seller.
And have you found as well recently, this is something I've certainly come across, people don't seem to be putting their houses up for sale until they found the house of their dreams.
Yeah.
But then agents would like to see that if you're selling a property, you've already had an offer accepted on your property, so they can put a really good offer to the seller of the property you're interested in.
Yeah.
So I think as well, I'm thinking people really need to be making sure that they're in a good position with the property they're selling as well before they put any offers in on new properties.
Yeah, I mean, for a period, our position on it's softened slightly now, but certainly during lockdown and the last 18 months or so, unless you're on the market yourself, a lot of agents, ourselves included, haven't been booking in viewings for you to view any houses that are on the market unless you're in a position to proceed yourself.
Yeah.
Because the market's been so hot, there's that many cash buyers and cash and mortgage buyers out there that are proceedable and ready to go. If you're not on the market, you're at a real disadvantage. So my number one advice to anyone looking to buy is, first of all, get yours on if you need to sell it. Unless you can buy without selling, you're not really a buyer until you've got a sale agreed on your own house.
Yeah, I understand why estate agents are having to be a little bit stricter with who's viewing properties, because I know for sure that with a lot of properties that are going up for sale, there's multiple viewings, and they'll all be booked in within 24 hours. So there's only so many viewings you can do, and it has, they have to be reserved for people who are in a good position, I suppose. Yeah,
and obviously it's client led. We wouldn't make a decision like that without the client's instructions. But a lot of clients at the moment are saying to us, unless they're proceedable, don't book them in. Just focus with those that are in a position to make an offer if they like it. Because as you say, the market has been so buoyant. Majority of the houses we're taking to market, we're launching with like an open day. So people have been booked in for time slots, and there's only so many slots in a day, and you're going to prioritise those that are cash or already sold a property. Yeah,
we've, as I say, we're speaking to clients very early on, and we're talking to them about what we're calling buyer's packs. So, when you want to put an offer in on a property, to be in a really good position, you are going to need your mortgage in principle or your proof of funds, and proof of deposit and solicitor's details. That seems to be the three key things that every estate agent will need. So we're saying, let us help you with that. Let us get this pack ready for you, so that when you're in that position that you want to put an offer in, the estate agent will say to the sellers, they're in a really good position here, that hopefully, they're either a first time buyer or they've had an offer accepted on a property they're selling, and they've got all the documentation together as well. So I think it's important to be speaking to clients about that, and it helps you as well, doesn't it, when you're trying to get the house off the market for them.
It just speeds that kind of process up of making an offer, to get in the instruction to either accept it or not. But if it's accepted, then the next thing we'll be asking for is what you just said, X, Y, and Z. And if it's there at the click of a button, we can get that across, make the vendor aware, and then get solicitors instructed and get the sale up and running.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Well, I feel like gosh, you've given the listeners a lot of information there, and these are honestly questions that I'm asked all the time. And although I have limited knowledge, I am a mortgage broker. It's really great to hear all this coming from you, and giving people these tips on how to make their property sellable, what buyers should be doing to get themselves in a really good position, especially with the market the way it is right now. People need to know these things.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So finally then, Tom, listeners will want to know more about Renton Parr. Where should they go to find out more information about you?
Well, we've got a website, which is we're currently having a new website created, but the website that we've got at the moment is fully available, and that's just rentonandparr.co.uk. It's got all our contact details on there and individual email addresses. Yep. But also social media, we do a bit on Facebook and Instagram, so you can follow us, and we put some of our latest instructions on there, and we share some blogs that we get access to as well. So
I follow you on Instagram. I've seen some beautiful homes on there. So yeah, I like to trawl through it in the evenings.
There's been some nice ones recently, and hopefully they'll continue.
Lovely. Well, is there anything else that you want to discuss today, Tom? Or
you're
quite happy with everything?
I will. I don't mean to go on, but
no.
Just on the viewing tips, I don't know if I've elaborated enough on that. And there's a few things I'd just like to point out. So if you are viewing properties, once you've called the agent and you've booked in to view, do your research first. Go online. There's so much information available now for you to access. So do your research before the viewing. And if you're able to do a drive-by, I say to everyone, do a drive-by. Have a look at it from the street scene first, and make sure that you're happy with the location and everything kind of as it sits in its environment. Because if you're not, don't go and do the viewing anyway. Don't do, I call it a sympathy viewing, where you go through the motions, but you've got no intention of buying. Call the agent and say, look, I've done a drive-by, thank you very much, but it's not for me. And we'd much rather hear that, because chances are we can refill that slot with someone else who wants to view it.
Yes.
So do your research on a drive-by first. But if you do, if you after that you still want to go and view, be punctual. Just a few little tips. Especially if the vendor is doing the viewing. Turn up on time, because if it is an open day, you'll probably have 20 or 25 minutes to view it. So if you're late, it's eating into your time to view that property. So make sure you're there on time. Be respectful of the house. If the owner's showing you around, it's been their family home for maybe 20, 30 years. They're going to want to know that you're respectful of it, offer to take your shoes off.
Yeah.
I always have those blue covers with me that I put on when I go into people's houses. So just basic manners. It's nothing kind of rocket science, but little things like this can make all the difference, because ultimately a vendor's decision may not always be financial. So if there's a situation where the property goes to best and final, where maybe there's 4 or 5 people interested, we ask them all to submit their best and final offers in writing. All those offers go to the vendor. Now, if you've met the vendor and you've struck up a bit of rapport, you were on time, you were polite, you were courteous to the vendor, if they're struggling to make a decision on finance because all the offers are similar, but they remember that you were really nice at the viewing, that can go in your favour. Little things like that can really help. So just be mindful that if the vendor's doing the viewing, they're the decision maker at the end of the day as to who they sell the house to.
I think that's really good advice. I think people sometimes forget that. And when you're going into someone else's home, it is important to be respectful, because sometimes these sellers are having to do 10, 15, 20 viewings, and they're having to make sure their house looks beautiful every time. And it's hard work. Yes. I've done it before, and it's like, another viewing. Yes. Oh, right. Okay. We need to clean, do the bathroom. And it's, it's not easy. It is an upheaval in a way, isn't it? Having people viewing your home, even if you want to sell it. So no, I think that's really good advice.
Good. Well, I'm
Thank
glad.
you very much for joining us. It's just been great to speak to you today. And like I say, I'm asked all these questions all the time. So I thought the best thing to do was get the expert in the room to just give some advice and tips about everything that buyers and sellers can be doing right now. So thanks ever so much for taking the time to take part in the podcast, Tom. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.